And you could take that away from like recruiting too and just apply that to your life for all you listeners out there. Like that's a great way to live. Just don't ever get your hopes up about anything. You'll never get let down.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Been a little bit, but we're back after a we're going to say nice Sooner win. Obviously, wins are better than losses, Colin. Anyone will agree with that. But after quarter one, it was not pretty for sure, at least on the offensive side of the ball. But once again, we're back. O'Grady and O'Grady Sports Podcast, right?
That's right. No, y'all missed us.
Colin, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. Just got done working out. Ready to film this podcast. What's up with you?
Not a whole lot. I'm off for Thanksgiving break with being a teacher, so that's been nice.
Praise the Lord.
Got to, go get some Christmas presents, mow the yard for the last time.
Still mowing the yard down there?
Yeah, just last time.
Nice.
Last time. Just trying to prep for this baby coming in 3 weeks, man.
3 weeks. That's crazy.
Getting close and freaking out day by day. So
All-State Tate, gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
So, man, hey, that crowd on Saturday was electric.
That's what I saw on the board, but obviously being there had to have been, tell me about it.
So the lines to get in the stadium were crazy anyways. We probably got there a little later than we have liked to. We stopped and ate at Campus Corner and everything. So it took us a while to get into the stadium. And then right from the kick, it's like everywhere was just packed, Normally it takes a while to kind of fill in, but right from the opening kick, it was packed and it was loud. First drive was good, like a minute 15, 75 yards. Go score a touchdown. So fans were in it from the start. And I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start than what we got. It was insane. So,
I always enjoy going to sporting events, especially like intense or rivalries or anything like that, because you can feel. We talked about it with Eddie Radosevich, where you can just feel the buzz, or just feel the atmosphere. Was it one of those situations where it was buzzing?
Yeah, and with it being, talk about possibly the last Bedlam in Norman. Me and you both think it's going to be one of those deals that goes away for a little bit and then comes back because it just makes too much sense to keep playing, So, but still, you don't know, you don't want to take it for granted. Maybe this is the last one in Norman. So it was really cool to be there. And there's something about just like, it was cold. It got down to 28 degrees, but there's something about that just being like football weather, like everyone bundled up and everyone kind of I don't want to say suffering together, but being out there in the cold, like dogging it out there, feeling like we're helping the team get a big win with some energy and stuff. So it was a lot of fun, and we can get into the game a little bit more, but overall I was pleased just to get out of there with a win, and maybe the last Bedlam in Norman. So
for sure, the game started out incredible. I mean,
couldn't ask for a better start.
Yeah, I was sitting on my couch and, Kaylee and I always like high five on a touchdown or a big play defensively, like interceptions or fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like high five after high five. Guess what? High five. Oh, another interception? High five.
Yeah.
High five. It was like, holy crap, this is about to go crazy. The frustrating part about it was, again, I don't want to come across as negative because a win's a win, and
against a rival too.
Right. I mean, and we talked about this where if you would have told either of us before the game that we would win by 15, we'd be like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we won by 15 and we had 4 interceptions and 5 sacks. I'd be like, count me in for that game. But all of those happened in like the first quarter.
Yeah. So, I actually heard today that in the second half, we only completed 1 pass. So that's just that type of stuff can't happen, you know.
Right.
And it was such a fun game to watch, but such a frustrating game to watch because the defense, man. And I don't know if you could see this on TV or not, but you know, we go 3-and-out again, and the defense is in their huddle about to go on. Like during the, I also want to say that was the longest football game I think I've ever been to. I don't know how many media timeouts there were and injuries. Game started at 6:30. We got out of there at like 10:30. But you know, they got the media timeout, the clock going on the sideline, and the defense is in their huddle, and they're like they look energetic, like they want to go out on the field. Like it wasn't like frick, our offense isn't getting anything going, like pissed off. It was like, no, they want to be out there, be the ones making the plays. And I think that showed with, you know, 6 sacks, 13 tackle for loss, 4 picks, 13 points, and 102 offensive snaps, Tate. They they ran 102 plays, scored 13 points. That's very impressive.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Defense played lights
Oh yeah.
out. Lights
Yeah.
out. To hold that team, like you said, over 100 plays with, again, Spencer Sanders coming off an injury, so he hasn't been practicing or anything, but the dude
Yeah.
has been playing college football for 17 years,
Yeah.
right? So he's experienced enough to get it rolling, and that defense was in his grill all night long. But I
Yeah.
mean, going back to the first quarter, the frustrating part about it was I'll take 28 to, was it 0 or 3 at that point? It was just 0.
I think it was 0.
Yeah, 28 to 0 is that it should have been 35 or 42 to 0. For
Mhm.
sure 35 because Braden Willis fumbles because
Yeah.
he tries to get low on the guy that's going for his knees. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not going to go lower than that.
Low man wins.
But that was like on the 10-yard line and
Yeah.
driving again. So for sure should have been 35
35.
0. And then we get, I think we don't score. Yeah, we didn't score on 2 of the interceptions. So
Well, and not even that, but they were 3-and-outs. I know one for sure was a 3-and-out. I don't know if both of them were, but I know for sure one was.
right.
So,
So I mean, again, I don't want to complain about a 15-point victory where defense played incredible, but it's just frustrating to see how much the offense left on the table throughout the entire game. Everyone wants to talk about the second, third, and fourth quarter, which rightfully so, but they left a lot on the table in the first quarter as well.
I agree. Well, you and me even texted about that, and I was like, "There's a lot of meat left on the bone." Like we just couldn't put them away. Couldn't get that final kill shot, you know. And there was multiple times. I don't know if you watched the Oklahoma breakdown today, but they talked about Deshaun White's interception in the end zone, and they're like, "We thought that was a game sealing interception," and then OSU had 2 more drives after that. Like
Yeah.
that's insane. That happened with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. So it's just
It was
unbelievable.
just so weird. I brought this up to you, and then I saw it all over the board and stuff like that, where the offensive creativity in the second half for sure was so bad that I seriously told you they could have, not should have, they could have nailed the ball on first through third down every single time, and we would have won that game 28 to 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbearable to watch any type of, I mean, because there's a couple of times where Eric Gray or Javante Barnes would get 6 or 7 or 8 yards on the first down, and then Levy would snap, or I guess Dylan Gabriel would snap the ball with 30 seconds on the play clock with the clock running. I just could not. And then we'd run a pass and throw an incomplete pass. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, there's only one completed pass in the second half. So
And I
I
think
don't know.
our third down conversion, I think we only converted once on third down the whole time. There was one time, Mike Gundy in the third quarter, we get like an ineligible man downfield or something like that.
He
And
did.
he declines it to put us at 3rd and 5. So
Yeah.
if that tells you anything about the way that game was going, the fact that he would rather defend us on 3rd and 5 than give us an extra down,
Yeah.
it just shows how bad the offense was on. And it wasn't like, I mean, we were behind schedule. We didn't get many 3rd and shorts, so that's not going to help either. It was 3rd and long and 3rd and medium all game after the first quarter. So, and I just wonder too, is Jeff Lebby just the most stubborn, hard-headed person ever? Because there was 0 adjustments being made,
Right.
and you know, whether it be running tempo, maybe slow it down a little bit, or everything was all east and west to the sidelines. Our running plays, we were doing little touch passes to like try to feed to Gavin Freeman and like swing passes, and it makes you wonder like why don't we use the middle of the field? And like we've said so many times on this, two idiots, basketball player, baseball player, never played football, but we've watched a lot of football, and you think you'd try something else after uh converting one completed pass in the second half, but I don't know.
Well, he came out and already said after watching film, I should have been more aggressive in the second half, or I should have something. But that's like the fourth or fifth time that he's come out and had to say something like that,
Mhm.
where you kind of ask the questions, when are you actually going to take your own advice?
Yeah.
Because
And
I don't, and again, I've brought this up where I say, okay, this is the fourth or fifth time, or, that Levy's had to say that. Or in a game, when it's the fourth or fifth drive that ends up stalling out, when's Venables supposed to step in and say, hey,
yeah.
get something going, or hey, quit running the hurry up. Let's at least milk a couple minutes off the clock. Even if we go 3 and out, we, ran a minute and a half, 2 minutes off the clock instead
Mhm.
of running the hurry up, and we go 3 and out, and we burned 53 seconds on the possession.
Well, and Venables talked about that in his post game too, about how clock management was, he called it terrible, I think. So,
It
I
was
mean,
terrible.
yeah, it really was. So you think that gets addressed. And here's the scary thing too, like yes, it was good that we beat Oklahoma State and it was the last home game, but we still got another game left before the bowl game, right? Like they're not slouches. Like McGuire's got those guys playing all right. They've got a couple decent wins this year, and in Lubbock, that's not an easy place to play. So you got to address these things fast. It's not like we have until January or whenever the bowl game is going to be. So you
Yeah.
want to keep this momentum. You don't want to take a step back next week. But my thing about the OSU game is, I even told you this, like you and me both being competitors. It's like we're when we got to 28 nothing, it's like we're a 5-5 team. Hadn't been a good year for us. We're playing OSU and in a primetime game. Let's try and score as many freaking points as we can. Like let's get another whatever it was at 2003 A&M. Like let's try and score a freaking 100 on these guys. Like that
Right.
was my thinking. And then it was like get to 28-0 and then play to not lose. When we're up 28-0, it's like why would you not try and just put them away and let, like that game could have had 2008 Texas Tech vibes where it's just a party like the
Yep.
whole rest of the game. But
Yep.
I mean, not gonna complain about winning a game, but definitely
I
left
don't
a lot
know.
of meat on
I'm
the bone.
complaining a little bit, and
Yeah,
I feel like
and it's really
I'm
just the
not being.
offensive side too.
Well, I'm not being negative. It's a justifiable
Yeah,
reason to be
go
upset
go look at
because
the box score.
100%. I told you before this weekend, whenever they sent out the list of recruits that were going to be there, and it's in the 40s,
Mhm.
I mean, and we have over 4 classes. There's like 6 or 7 5-star recruits in the Palace, and we have the option, or not the option. We have the ability to, like you said, a Tech game in '08 where it's jump around, and those recruits are like, holy crap!
Yeah,
Like I told you before this weekend, this could be a monumental turning point for the history of this program. Like we should be able to look back, or we could be able to look back in 3, 4, 5 years and say, hey, that recruiting weekend against OSU, when we beat the brakes off of them in Norman under the lights with those 40 recruits, and now some of those high profile recruits are now suiting up for the Sooners. Like that was a monumental weekend.
yeah, absolutely.
And and instead, again, I will take the win. I'm not saying, oh, I'm mad at the team. No, I'm not mad at a 15-point win. I'm mad that it wasn't a 45-point win because OSU wanted to quit.
Yeah.
They
Well,
wanted to quit.
and Gundy seemed like he was calling super conservative too. Like there was one point in the fourth quarter when it was like fourth and fourth and 5, 4th and 7 or something, and he sends a field goal unit out there and they're on OU side of the field. Like, and so it's just kind of stuff like that, like where you're like, does he really even, I mean, obviously he wants to win this game, but it's just he called a very conservative game, and it was kind of like they gave up, and we just wouldn't put our foot on their throats.
which is super frustrating to me because
Yeah.
me, I've brought
Oh,
it
I
up
know.
before. I'm so competitive that I'll beat you 21 zip in cornhole. I'll beat, like I help coach high school basketball athletes, and when they want to play, we'll play to 11, and I will beat you 11-0. I don't feel sorry for you. If you want to play a competitive anything, I mean, you look back at your childhood and
You could tell the people what you did to your 8-year-old cousin playing Mario Super Sluggers.
yeah, I mean, we're playing the Wii Mario Super Sluggers, and it doesn't matter if you're 8 years old or 800 years old. I'm beating the brakes off of you because you agreed to play the game. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And that drives that unwritten rule of like it's not sportsmanship because
It's like
you,
taking pity.
that's what I mean. I'm all about sportsmanship. I don't want you being dirty. I don't want you. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you're talking Division 1 collegiate football, guys getting full ride scholarships, guys getting paid to play the game, coaches getting paid millions, and the unwritten rule of, well, if you're up 42-0, it's very bad sportsmanship to keep the pedal down. And it's like, how?
Yeah.
Why? I'm not saying go and drop kick dudes in the side of the head and bite their ankles when they're dead. Like, that's dirty, and I'm not calling for that. I'm saying we're in a down year. We got to prove something. We're up 28-0 in the first and have all the momentum, all the opportunities. Our defense is finally playing smash mouth Venables defense, energy flying around, all kinds of stuff, sacks, interceptions. And for some reason, and all it takes is one person, whether it's Levy, whether it's Jalil Farouk dropping passes, whether it's Dylan Gabriel missing dudes, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one plays one guy at a time, not having that. I'm going to beat my 8-year-old cousin at Mario Super Sluggers 15 times in a row, regardless of how many times he goes and cries to mama. Like,
I never went and cried to mama.
just cried in general.
I didn't cry. I let my displeasure be heard, but I never cried.
Let the record show there were definitely tears.
Yeah. Let's run
Anyway,
it
but
back,
you know what I
Tate.
mean? Like, it's so frustrating to me that there always seems to be, and it's not always offensive. Sometimes it's defensive, but there always seems to be
Like a bust.
at least one guy where it's like, ah, a mental break, and that drives me absolutely
Yeah.
nuts.
So we were driving back. It was me, Jenny, and my dad driving back from the game. And we stopped to get some Raising Canes first. So we're all tired, cold, or whatever. So we're a little delusional. And we're driving back. We're listening to the post game, and they're interviewing Braden Willis. And he's talking about the offensive struggles. And he was like, I mean, the coaches had a good game plan and everything. We would just get in these positions and we'd shoot ourselves in the foot. And then out of nowhere, without missing a beat, my dad goes, "Well, you blew all 10 toes off." And me and Jenny just lost it because
It's
it's
so true.
true.
Yeah,
It's
it's true.
true.
Especially throughout the season.
Yeah.
Especially throughout the season where it's like, well, you're out of toes, my guy,
Yeah. Well,
because
you just
that's
blew all 10 toes off. So,
that's hilarious.
but
Classic Steve.
yeah, but eventually you got to stop shooting yourself in the foot, which hopefully we will. But I mean, we've sounded like we're complaining enough. So you want to talk about how awesome that defense was?
Defense was incredible, dude. It seriously was. It was fun and I'm glad to hear that, you said in media timeouts, those dudes are like jumping around, hyping each other up and stuff like that. Because it, I've talked about it several times where, training kids, you see the difference of just mentality, where
Yeah.
it's like, I'm mentally tougher than you. I promise you, if we go toe to toe, I'm going to be the last one standing. That mindset matters. It matters in pitching on the mound. It matters in basketball when you're shooting. It matters in football. It just matters in everything that you do. And so to hear that those guys were setting the edge mentally wise before they even stepped on the field is super. I think that's a huge step forward. And I
Yeah.
hope that the coaches can say, hey, look at us over there on the sideline. We were hyped to play this game, and it showed. It was our best defensive, performance. I mean, by far. And the frustrating thing is, I mean, we left 3 or 4 interceptions on the field, hitting us
Yeah.
right in the hands. That stat line should have said 6 sacks and 7 interceptions easily. I'm not
Well,
even.
and I don't even think OSU should have scored a touchdown because that PI on Woody Washington
Oh
was
my gosh,
atrocious.
so
That was
bad.
textbook coverage, man.
Yeah, it is so bad.
I
That's one
mean,
that won't hurt him whenever they're like, he's getting graded out. It was textbook. They replayed it and
he
it was
turned his head around, played the ball,
it
but
was so annoying. Freaking Dusty Dvorak does so good with broadcasting, but for some reason this time, and usually he does really good with OU games of not sounding like a homer, but just like
also
saying
trying
weird.
like some of those guys too try to not sound like a homer.
Well, that's what he was doing all Saturday night, and it just got
Yeah.
super frustrating where he was like, "Oh, he does tug him. I can see where that's a good call."
Yeah,
And it's like
whatever.
you don't even have to say anything. You can just be like, "Oh, well, the ref threw the flag." I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. It was one of those things where it was textbook coverage. Had his head turned. They were both fighting with the hands. It should have
Yeah.
been a no call.
And he
And
played the ball, not the receiver too. So it's like
right,
I don't know
but
where the
no, dude,
PI is there.
defense looked. It was fun to watch the defense. I was super worried the entire game that the defense from this season was just going to rear its
Well,
ugly head. And I'm like, dude, we're 2 possessions away from this being ugly, and our offense just keeps giving them possession. So,
uh,
2 + 2 = 4. But to their credit, they played incredible all game long.
yep.
They've really been fading in the second halves because, especially at linebacker, they're just exhausted from playing 80, 90 snaps and just they end up getting.
About 102 snaps.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I was super worried because you look at the past games and being like, they've really lost. They really, in the West Virginia game, they played great until
Yeah.
the third, fourth quarter because they started getting tired. And so I kept expecting that fall off. But to their credit, dude, they played lights out all game. D line played. It's
They look
incredible.
totally different.
It's incredible. Yeah, Jordan Kelly had his best game of the year. Isaiah Coe needs to come back next year because
Yeah.
he could be a monster on the interior. If he comes another year and getting Schmitty built, that dude would be a monster next year. So I'm hoping that they can convince him to come back. But overall, dude, defense looked great. We win that game 100% because of defense.
Oh yeah. Well, if we don't get all those turnovers in the first quarter, and if they don't spot us 28, we probably lose that game 13-7, because we scored. Were all of our points off of turnovers besides the very first drive.
I think one might have been off of just like a
So
three
like
and out type deal,
so
but
14 points off of
yeah,
turnovers then.
but 14 were for sure off of
Yeah,
turnovers.
so you're looking at a 14-13 game when who knows how many OSU scores too if we don't get those turnovers. So defense, definitely the strong group on the field. And that's kind of a glimpse into what BV's defense can be, I think, which is exciting. Like obviously they're not going to have 6 sacks and 13 tackles for losses every game.
I
But
meant they could because it goes back to that D line pushing the line of scrimmage a yard or two back.
yeah, and
When they
they were in the go ahead. Sorry.
You look back at the games where they've done that, and it has been around 5 or 6 sacks and 10+ tackles for
Yeah.
loss. You know what I mean? So it 100% that is a perfect glimpse of what a BV defense could be if our D line plays that well. And I'll give them credit because they did play that well, but I also don't know how bad OSU's O line is. They looked pretty bad, but
Yeah.
West Virginia's line
Their
was
offensive line isn't good either.
isn't that good, and they didn't play that well. So I'll give the D-line credit. They came out and played incredible.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
then
why we've had so much success.
them pushing the line back too helped other guys kind of get freed up. Like Deshaun White got in there, got a sack,
Well,
and
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Our linebackers have taken so much smoke this year, rightfully so, but they get swallowed up too easily. But
hmm
it's whenever our D line allows, or our D line gets pushed back a yard or two instead of pushing them, because then our linebackers, they're in our linebackers' way. But
yeah,
anyways, dude,
yeah,
it was again, I'll take a 15-point Bedlam win. It was just crazy how it went about. Offense was crazy for
I
three
know,
quarters. It was crazy to me that, Drake Stoops had a hell of a game, but, Marvin Mims, again, really didn't do that much. Jaleel
yeah,
Farouk had 3 drops. Braden Willis had a drop and a fumble. It's just one of those things where you're like,
like uncharacteristic.
yeah, it's just so weird to me. I don't understand. I don't know. I guess they, and then, another huge factor in Marvin Mims' game to me is in punt return.
He was fair catching some that
Well, one, he was fair catching some that shouldn't have been fair caught, but the ones that drive me nuts, and Teddy Lehman said this a bunch, where if a punt returner, if all he will do
just
is
catch
catch
it.
the ball out of the air and never lose those yards that the ball rolls
Yeah,
ever, that's a great punt returner. And Marvin last night on Saturday night had like 3 or 4 where he, called the Peter, or, don't get away from it, or wow, don't touch it, get away from it. And the ball bounced, probably a total of like 30 to 40 yards,
yeah,
not on one punt, but over the night. And it's like, go get under the ball and just catch it. And
mhm.
it's one of those things that makes me a little nervous that he's so in his head about drops that he's like, no, 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 just get away from it. So that's something that kind of has been bugging me a little bit about him. I feel like he's really in his head a lot, and it seemed to kind of flop over to Jaleel Farouk. So
Yeah, they got the bug. But and if you think about it, at the start of the year, special teams was one thing that looked like a lot different from last year, how aggressive everyone was. And I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of that second half of the season. The Billy Bowman play was pretty sick on the kickoff
yeah, that was
when
cool.
he threw it across the field. So,
We didn't do
but
anything with it.
yeah, shocker. But you know, maybe see him be a little more aggressive this week against Tech, because
Yeah,
special teams will be important in this game.
we need to win this week for sure. We need to win. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard because you don't know what offense is going to show up,
Don't
and
know
then
what defense is
you
going to show up either.
don't know what defense is going to show up, and then them, even if it's good defense, excuse me, even if a good defense shows up, they have a super mobile quarterback, and it's just like,
Yeah.
all right, might be a shootout. And if that because Texas defense has been solid, they freaking fight, and they're relentless.
hmm
So if that offense shows up, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Weird, weird season. It's just been so back and forth of offense looks great. If this defense could get it figured out,
Well,
and
that's
then
that.
defense looks great. Again, going back to me and you saying, if we could just play one game of full complementary
Yep.
football, this team would be very, very
Well,
dangerous.
the first quarter was definitely complimentary football. You saw how good that could be. Like obviously it's not going to be like that every time,
Right,
but you could definitely see how good we could be if we play complimentary football.
right.
So,
I
that's
completely agree.
there is some definitely very exciting things going forward from Saturday's game. But and then as far as the recruiting goes, I've seen nothing but good things from recruits tweeting out how good the experience was and how good the crowd and everything was from Saturday night. So we were a little worried about that after losing Vasic and then, rumors about some of these other guys. But hopefully the recruiting starts to trend upwards again too after Saturday. And hopefully this next Saturday we get another win. Maybe some guys will flip.
Yeah. I mean, got 3-star Ashton Sanders, 6'2", 285. Got Taylor Ween or Wine, I don't know, from
Yeah.
Tennessee, 3-star, but he's 6'5", 250, kind of that same body style as Colton Vasek. And when you watch his film, I bet you he moves up severely, like incredibly in this next cycle, because his film is pretty impressive as well. So I don't know. Hearing decent things on Hicks. Apparently, he has another official visit to Texas A&M on December 16th. So that's after the season. So obviously he won't be there for a game. So they'll just be talking money.
Yeah.
And then Peyton Bowen seems to really be leaning in the right direction too. So I don't know, dude. We could, you and I have talked. I'm trying my hardest not to get my hopes up after
Yeah.
the past months, dude. Losing like Jordan Renaud, Cade McDonald, David Hicks. I was like down and down bad in the recruiting. And so any positivity, I'm like, I'll believe it when National Signing Day comes. Because right now, I do not like how I felt after the hopes were up for the last time.
And you could take that away from like recruiting too and just apply that to your life for all you listeners out there. Like that's a great way to live. Just don't ever get your hopes up about anything. You'll never get let down by anything. So if that's the one piece of advice you get from us,
That's
let
your dating advice.
it yeah,
Just go in
definitely.
with the absolute lowest expectations and everything will be
It's all
great.
up from there.
That's incredible.
No, we're just kidding. But no, I get it though. So, but hopefully it all goes out well and we can get some of these guys. I also saw maybe a 3-star safety from NEO, like a JUCO.
Yeah,
Also
he looks
committed.
good. It's something Dolby. His last
Yeah,
name Dolby. I watched his film last night, and he looks super explosive as well. They put a crystal ball in for him too. So
yeah,
I don't know, dude. I'll take all the defensive recruits you can get because surely a couple of them will pan out.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, I saw a thing that said I saw a couple things. I saw one that said if they do land Bowen and Hicks, that OU would jump all the way to the number 2
I saw that too.
recruiting class. So the second thing I saw that I forgot to mention while we were talking about it was that going back looking through this season, the defense has been on the field 90 more minutes than the offense.
Yeah,
An
that's insane.
entire game and a half.
Yeah,
They've been on the field an entire game and a half more than the offense. And that on to me falls on Jeff Levy and his
up
hurry up.
tempo.
I don't like it, dude. I'm not saying never go to the line, hurry up and catch the defense off guard,
Yeah,
but the consistent just get there, snap. But because then you only run like these quick hitter things instead of, hey, Levy, take a second, see what the defense is in, relay it down to Gabriel, call the audible, get into it. Like,
yeah. It's almost like we don't want to take these guys like one on one kind of. We want to catch them off guard more than we trust our guys beating their
yeah,
guys if we're
it
both set
does.
up.
It does come across that way.
But like we said, not football experts, but we're just calling it how we see it. And I don't know. It's like I said, it's like he's the most stubborn, hard-headed person ever. It's not working for 3 quarters, but we're still going to use it.
Like,
And
I'm just gonna beat my head against this wall
yeah,
repeatedly because I said so, and that's how I want to do it.
uh-huh.
But
But
overall, dude, I feel like we saw a turn in the recruiting aspect, and then I feel like we saw a turn on the field. I feel like that game was huge for our defense's belief in themselves,
yeah,
and then offense knowing what they did, wrong and stuff like that. I feel like we did turn the tide in on and off the field. So
yeah.
overall,
Well,
good week.
and if you look at the defense, Iowa State played well. Baylor did not play good, but then came back against West Virginia, played good enough to win probably. Offense didn't really help us out, and then play really well against Oklahoma State. So we keep stringing these good defensive performances going into next year. So that's really exciting. If we could look good this Saturday against Tech and then go into a bowl game and look good, then that makes this year a little easier to stomach. You and me
Yeah.
talked about we have a chance to finish 8-5, which would be really
Yeah.
something after how this year has gone. So
And I think it'd be very not. Golly, you look at the schedule and we could have a 10-win season very easily. But
yeah,
after how weird the recruiting landscape's been, and then how weird and inconsistent our team's been, finishing 8-5 would be much better than what we anticipated, 2 weeks ago or whatever. So
mm, Yeah. So you got to take the positives with the negatives, but I'm not really one for moral victories, but
I'm not
you know,
either.
but I'll let it slide this year, but next year I can't take another 8-win, 8-5. So
Did you happen to watch the USA World Cup?
I did. So
Gosh, dude,
watch a little bit of footy, bro.
I remember I got into football whenever I was working at Polio's, the
Oh,
Mexican
shout out
restaurant,
Polos.
yeah, in Ada.
A-Town.
Uh, because obviously all those people were like all about it.
Yeah.
And and also that was the last time the USA was in it. So I was
Yeah,
like,
it's been a while.
yeah, it's been 8 years. And so to watch that game and then be so
It was honestly
dominant,
heartbreaking, bro.
they were so dominant in the first half, had several opportunities where they should have scored more than one goal because it was just 1-0 at halftime. And then the second half was just that Wales team just absolutely giving us everything we could
I
handle.
know. And then the foul is just a boneheaded
Well,
mistake, man.
that ref must be from the Big 12, and he saw USA looking like in an OU uniform because that dude was so inconsistent.
How about
Oh my
their
god!
guys would be laying on the field and they'd stop they said, "We're not gonna stop it unless it's a head injury.
Right.
Everything else we're gonna keep playing." And all these Welsh guys going down, they're stopping it. And then our like team captain's on the ground and they're playing. He's like holding his hamstring, cramping up, and they're still going. I'm like, what is going on? I was watching it with my roommate and we were just like, and then so how does that work with the whole, is this like a pool play? Like you play the
Yeah.
teams, is that why they were able to tie?
Yeah, it's a pool play, so they both got 1 point today
Right.
for whereas they're in that pool with England and
Mm.
Iran, and
England
so
scored 3 goals in their
Yep,
game, so
England scored. England
or
sc- it was 5-2,
so they got 3
so they
points.
got +3.
Okay,
And I'm like, God, we play England on Friday
on
at 1. I'm
Friday. Hey, give us England, bro. Remember what happened in 1776? That's all I gotta say about that. I'm just kidding.
America. So
But,
I don't know. I love watching the World Cup. I love it that the USA's in it. So hopefully they can advance because it's super fun to watch.
and it
Kind of
is like,
cool. Kind of
I'm
cool
not,
that it's at Christmas time instead of
yeah,
in the summer.
yeah, and I'm not one for soccer necessarily. I mean, I respect it, how just absolutely exhausting it looks, but, I mean, I play baseball, which isn't fun to watch, but I really don't think soccer's that fun to watch. But the World Cup, that's a big deal, man. Like,
No, dude, World
how
Cup's
many
fun to
countries?
watch. The freaking crowds are incredible.
Insane. Even the USA crowd was going pretty
Yeah,
crazy, and
I
that's
know,
not.
dude. Like you talk about the Olympics come into North America. It'll
Mhm.
be like in Mexico, America, and Canada, and they already said that like some of the soccer games will be in America, and I'm
Mhm.
like, Kaylee, we need to go to one of those because
Yeah,
that's so freaking cool.
that would be really cool. So hopefully the troops can go get it done on Friday, and
Yep.
maybe try and tune in for that. Keep this thing rolling.
I'll
So,
definitely, we'll definitely be tuned in. I'm
yeah,
excited
yeah.
because you don't know if they're going to advance, so you need to watch all the USA matches you can.
Mhm.
And then when USA plays Iran,
Hey, I just wish they'd have won that one today, man.
I know they needed
It's
that one
it's good to
bad.
get your point though. So, and
Anyway, little World Cup talk to wrap up the pod.
yeah, how about that? We I never would have thought we would talk about soccer on this podcast
Hey,
or
man,
football.
USA, America.
Yep. So,
All right, dude. Hey, good weekend. Oh, you finished it out, finished strong. That's what we needed. We needed a good momentum weekend, especially with all the recruits on campus. So, felt like we did well. Felt like we're moving in the right direction. We'll see Saturday in Lubbock against Tech if we can finish the season strong.
that we will.
All right, guys. Sooner Nation, love you guys. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on social media. We're out.
Later.